So, welcome back to the channel. I know this video is going to be a little bit of a trigger for some people, but I want people to understand something. When I'm talking about this list, I want everyone to keep in mind that the groups that I've named above, some of the groups I'm going to be naming throughout these videos, I am huge supporters of these groups. Most of them I've been watching since day one, and I haven't pretty much missed a video of them. So just keep that in mind. But with that being said, you know, there are a lot of pros and cons to these groups being on the platform. And I think we can all agree that we don't want YouTube to be even more regulated than what it is already. So I devised a list of 7 pros and 7 cons. I did that because maybe about a year ago, I was contacted by CC Unit. And, you know, he understood that I wasn't there trying to hate on these groups or anything like that. But one of the things that he said really did stick with me. You know, I've been doing a lot of videos just talking about the negative sides of some of these groups, not really kind of pointing out this, you know, some of the positives, which is true. And so today I figured I'd do a little bit of a change up. So, pros are, you know, 1 on the pros. Saving a child versus, you know, saving a child. So what I mean by that is, instead of this disgusting pred coming to meet that child, they're coming to meet CC Unit, Courtney Elizabeth, D.A.P, whoever. You know, they're in place, you know, of them meeting a real child, because if they weren't there, that's exactly who they will be, you know, meeting up with. And I think that's very important. I think even for a lot of, you know, some people that really don't like these groups, like law enforcement and things of that nature, you know, most of them are parents. And I know, even though that they don't say it, I know that they are grateful that it's, you know, they're talking to CC Unit as opposed to talking to, you know, the family, you know, the victim. I think that's very important. So making it harder to upload. Again, this comes down to, you know, okay, YouTube isn't just a platform for predator catchers. Don't get me wrong, it's you know, it's definitely a spot there for them. But, you know, other people use the channel for different things, you know, cooking, exercise, news, things of that nature. And with a lot of these videos being taken down and, you know, uploading people's images without their consent, that's always going to be a problem, you know. And I don't want it to get to a point where it makes it harder for other creators to make videos, simply because, you know, getting a lot of claims and copyright strikes and takedowns and all that other stuff. So a lot of the times when these people are caught, you know, they're either caught live stream or on videos, and thousands of people are sniping watching. And among the many good things about that is finding other victims, having other victims to speak up about said person, you know, knowing that they're not alone, that, you know, they didn't just go through this by themselves. I think that's very important, having people come forward, and, you know, maybe when they get caught and arrested, you know, you can have more people testify, you know, against this person to put them in jail longer if, you know, they go to jail. I think that's a really good thing. Hitting the wrong person. I've seen 2 groups do that. One, I can't remember what the group was, and the other was PP Mass. Now, granted, he blamed it on the fact that, you know, it was the mask and, you know, the virus and everything like that. So, you know, he couldn't sit there and see who it was. But the thing is, he live streamed that Okay, you might be able to take down the video, but people tend to upload, re-upload, and screen record and things of that nature. And now this person, because I've watched that video, and there's a lot of information, a lot of private information about this person that he might not have wanted his family to know about, his co-workers or anything like that. And granted, afterwards, he apologized and everything like that. But again, you catch the wrong person, you're not 100% sure, that's a problem, because that turns into a lawsuit, or hell, even worse. Putting them in jail. If you can find the right cops and all your stuff is airtight and you can send this person to jail, that's amazing. That is amazing within itself. Now, that can also be a bad thing too, because if this person mess up the case, they act like a fool, they do something stupid. In the early days, with Alex and Predator Poachers, and how even Rami in some of his later days, I see a lot of cases and things of that nature. How even when Eric Konechsky used to be doing some of these catches with Johnny, I think Bravo, I think that's his name. Used to be some of these catches or whatever, and they would sit there and take them in the house and kind of lock them up or whatever, or lock the door, and it's just a lot of problems, and you can wind up throwing out a case and having this person go free on a bunch of other cases or whatever, simply because you decide to take the law into your own hands. Educating the parents. Educating the parents is very important. Most of these groups will sit there and say, make sure you keep an eye on your children's devices and things of that nature. Like, it's important. It's very important, because that's how these people, come at people's children a lot of times, through the internet, through Instagram, through Snapchat, through different dating apps and things of that nature. Kids are curious, but as a parent, you kind of got to sit there and be on top of that stuff. And when you see a video like that, it kind of, and that's not to say you're not thinking about that, but it kind of just reinforces that message. Now, sometimes these people can go out, catch these prez and things of that nature, and you don't know what kind of mental state that they are in. I did a video about 2 years ago or a year ago with D.A.P, with the title, did they go too far? Now, this person pretty much ended their life. And, in some places, depending on the law, they could be responsible for it. Especially when you watch the video, because it's still out. When you watch the video, the guy does sit there and say, don't do this, yada, yada, yada. And he literally says, I'm going to, end my own life. Now, at the time, and granted, D.A.P has gotten a lot better, but at the time, when you sit there reading the message, I think it was something along the lines of, oh, boo, whatever, like he didn't really take it seriously. Then the guy ended his life. Now, moving forward, they did get a lot better the minute that person even mentions it. They're calling 911. They're calling. You know what I'm saying? Like they're taking care of that. Because let's just sit there and say, for the sake of argument, because I got a lot of flack for that video. Oh, you're too soft. They deserve to be hung. Blah blah blah. Like, I'm on their side or something. But my whole thing is, it could have been a lot worse. Which is why I still stand by my original statement of them going too far. Let's say, for example, he didn't just take his own life. Okay? He didn't just... That could have been even worse. Everyone's going to talk about, oh, he's going this, that, and the third, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, but it could have been even worse. And I stopped thinking, you know what I'm saying? Like, these people, not, I don't know all their backgrounds, but I imagine that they're not all psychologists and psychiatrists and things of that nature. They don't know how to necessarily deal with somebody who has severe mental health issues. And things like that could happen. Hell, people be pred. There was one guy that said towards the end of his video, talking about his life was over and it was wrong and stuff like that. And, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something along the lines of, well, if I'm going to be unhappy, then I'm not going to be the only one. Okay, let's just think about with this country, everything that's been going on so far, and it comes right back to mental health and you not knowing what this person is capable of doing. Now, this one is also important. A lot of these groups sometimes go to these press jobs. And, some of these jobs, these people are working around kids. So if you can get them fired from that, that's all the better. They do not need to be anywhere near kids. School, playgrounds, whatever, McDonald's, anywhere where, they're working around kids is definitely a no-no. So if they can get them fired from that place, I don't even think I have to sit there and tell you at this point. As I'm sitting there reading this, I think I kind of forgot another negative. And, you know what, screw it. Because I think when I was sitting there talking about creating for other people, also, YouTube getting sued and things of that nature, making it a lot harder for creators. Now, one of the things that PTI, wasn't it they're talking about, was how a lot of these channels, Patreons, are getting attacked. And that sucks. Okay, don't get me wrong. A lot of these catchers will go out and spend their own money, their own gas and time, and take off from work and all that other stuff. So any extra money that they get is vital. Okay? And I'm not saying that they're trying to take away from them. But, there are also other creators that use Patreon and Ko-Fi and things of that nature. And with these Patreon, Ko-Fi, whatever, one of the perks for a lot of these groups is they get early access towards videos. Now, the thing about Patreon, I imagine it works a lot like a lot of these other Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you upload somebody's image without their consent, they have a right to report it and take it down. Now, like PCI said, a lot of groups are getting their Patreons just gone. And it sucks. But then what's going to wind up happening is going to be a domino effect. Other people use Patreon for different things, and it's going to be either a lot harder to sit there and get Patreon, a lot harder to sit there. It's just going to be a risk for everyone who uses Patreon, which is sort of, it's the same thing for YouTube. Now, while a lot of these people are repeat offenders, there's always that case where you get one person, you scare the life out of them, and they don't do it again. They learned their lesson, they ain't doing it again, and, that's great, It doesn't always happen, but every once in a while, it will happen. I think that's pretty, that's good. Now, on the con side, with these people that you're confronting, you don't know them, you don't know what they have. I've seen people talk about getting weapons drawn on them, weapons fired on them, fights, with D.A.P a lot of times, sometimes they get into physical fights. Now, these guys can obviously handle themselves, but, you don't know. And to be honest, no one is made of steel. So, somebody, depending on what state you're in, concealed weapons, things can go wrong sideways. When you back somebody into a corner, you don't know how they're going to react. And that's the truth of the matter. I think that's about it. So, all in all, I am definitely a supporter of these groups. Again, do not sit there and take it as, oh, you're hating, you're being so. No, I'm a supporter of these groups. But a lot of times with certain situations and setups and things of that nature, I have to sit there and look at both sides of the argument. Both sides of the spectrum, the positive, the negatives, and everything and anything in between. Well, with that being said, I'm going to go. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. And, yeah, I'll see you in the next video.